I'd like to dedicate this video to all the people who share their technical knowledge on YouTube. Thanks for your help, and I hope this one helps you. This piece was the reason that I made this video. I couldn't find anywhere on the internet how to get this out. So I decided to take a chance from the information I gathered and basically reef on it gently. And I found that it has all these clips in it. So it actually just pulls upward. Okay, so if you're taking this piece off, you pull this upward. Okay, so for removing the console, you pull this piece off. It's held in by these little clips. And then there's two screws at the front right here. Use a 10mm socket to get those two out. These are the screws that you need to remove for taking out the console. So there's one on the passenger's side and one on the driver's side, and then the two at the front. And the whole console lifts out. So here's the old cable. I pulled it through. You can see that grommet there. It tells you which way it was installed. This way. So I'm going to install the new one the same way from the factory. So I already took one screw out of here. So I got to take that one off. And then the cable is going to come through under the carpet here, under this thing, and to the back. That's somewhere where the hole is, and that's where the grommet's going to go through. Okay, so just taking the last screw out of here. Now this thing will be out of the way. If you try to put your hand under this thing or try to feed it in the carpet with that thing in the way, you'll just end up cutting yourself because the edge of it's pretty sharp here. So just take it off, easy. Okay, now I'm going to feed the cable in underneath the carpet. And it goes under here, and I got to try and find the hole. Okay, it's right about there. Make sure the grommet goes with it. Okay, that is completely in the hole. Now it's sliding through the grommet to the underneath of the vehicle. Okay, there's the end of the cable that's going to screw into the park brake handle. And we'll just continue to feed this in. I don't know how far it's going to go, but anyways, we're going to go under the vehicle now. Just laying right down on the ground, because there's enough clearance here, and there's the cable right there. See, you can't see it. There it is right there, hanging out on the floor. Okay, so now we're going to hook that up. So seriously, here's the cable that I just pushed through the floor. And I'm just going to pull that grommet out so that it sits nicely in there and makes a nice watertight seal. That's it. It's good to go. This is the little piece that connects the two cables together. This cable to the right rear brake cable, which is right there. And it has a couple of little tabs on the back that you can squeeze in with pliers. That locks the cable in place so that it can't fall out. And what you should do with this thing is, after you get it apart, if you had any rust or anything in there, or even if you don't, just pack it full of grease, and that way if you keep this vehicle long enough in the future, you won't have any problem taking that apart. Okay, so now I'm just going to put that thing back on there. That was easy enough. That's how that clips on. And now this piece has to go through the bracket What this bracket does is it attaches it to the left rear brake cable also. So you just put it through this hole and push it into place. Maybe easier said than done. Doesn't feel like it's the right size. I'm gonna have to pause the video for a second, take a look at that. So I pulled the cable out, and the problem with it was, I guess it's cheap aftermarket type thing, that it was wider across the clips than across the flat part. With the original one, it was the same diameter all the way around. So I just took some pliers and crushed it down a little bit, to make sure that it's the same all the way around. And I think that's good, so I'm going to make attempt number 2. Okay, attempt number 2 with the end of the brake cable locking clip crushed down a little bit to try and make it fit in the hole, and feels a little bit better. Still not gonna be easy. Oh, there it goes. Popped right in there. Okay, so now I can easily pull this out, this part of the cable, because it's not hooked up on the inside of the vehicle, and put it into this slot. Pull it down into place. That. And now I just have to squeeze the locking tabs. Right there, you can see them. So I'm just going to get the pliers and squeeze those guys a little bit.
So we're back up top now, and first thing to do is put this thing back in here. Yeah, it goes that way. The silver screws. One in there. And one in there.
Okay, I'm going to move up to where the cable right here connects up to the handbrake mechanism. So I'm going to change the camera angle. Okay, so first thing that's got to happen is this cable has to go through this hole, and then on the driver's side of the lever, the cable is going to come up through this hole here. Okay, this is the driver's side of the emergency brake lever, or not emergency brake, parking brake. And what has to happen is this end of the cable with the thread on it has to go through this little opening here so that we can adjust it. And the easiest way to do this is by moving the handle up and down. A little bit hard on the fingers. Part here is not fitting into the hole. Right there, I'm having a problem with that. So I'm going to figure out some way to turn it, because it has to be sticking out of here far enough to get the nut on it. So obviously that has to go in a lot further, but that makes for boring videos, so I'll just get back to you. Okay, so problem number 2 with the aftermarket cable. This is the original one on the left side here, and you notice that it's flat all the way through. Well, this cable from CarQuest, they didn't bother machining it all the way up. So it's a lot wider up at the top here than it is on the flats. So for that reason it won't fit into the slot, so I'm going to have to grind it down. So I'll be right back. Okay, so there it is. I ground it down, tried to make it square. Haven't tried it yet, but we'll see if that does the trick. Alright, after a horrible fight with this thing, I have the bolt sticking out the top there. I got these vice grips holding the cable so that it won't slide back into the sheath. And I'm ready to put the nut on. And yes, those are band-aids. This metal right here is very sharp if you slip. It's like a knife. So anyways, I just got to put this nut on here. Oh. You gonna get me rigid? Take my vice grips out of the way now. There. Okay, so this should probably be sticking out about an inch or so. I can tell by feel whether the adjustment is enough or not. It should go up like 3 or 4 clicks, not that many. Still not enough. So if this doesn't tighten up here, that means that the rear brake shoes are out of adjustment. That's something, a different project. It's still a bit high, but it feels like it's working. All I'm concerned about right now is that it gets certified. And that's definitely working. Okay, so that's that. This is where the front of the console bolts down. Right here, these 2 holes go right through the car. And of course, they're both rusty. I was afraid that the bolts would break off when I was taking them out. These guys here, so I'm just going to clean them up, and then I'm going to put some grease on them before I put them back in. Okay, I'm ready to put the console back in, and the nice thing about this is that there's only 4 screws holding it in here, 2 right there, and the 2 that go in the rusty floor holes up there. So to make it easier, it's always handy to pull the park brake up. And that way it's easier to place the console. Two screws at the front. And before I tighten those, I'm going to make sure the back ones fit. Right side good, left side, need to move the seat. And left side good. Now back screws. Front's tight, solid. Handle moves okay. I'm just going to open this to move it out of the way for putting this piece back on. Okay, so putting this back on, lift up the handle to make it easier. Push it through the rubber grommet. Make sure it's back in place everywhere. And when it looks nice, just clip her back in, and there it is.